What if nothing around you is real? Not the sky, not your memories, not even the you think is real. Think about it. That strange déjà vu, the moment time felt like it skipped, the glitch no one else noticed. What if this isn't reality, but a simulation? Leading scientists like Nick Bostrom and Elon Musk believe it's not just possible, it's almost certain that we're inside an advanced program, mistaking code for reality. But what if someone knew all along, long before screens, long before code, ancient minds warned us? This world is a lie. The Hindus called it Maya, the great illusion. Gnostic texts spoke of a false god who crafted a prison world to trap your soul. These weren't myths, they were warnings. So ask yourself, if your life is just code dash dash, who's writing it? And when will you wake up? Part 1. Simulation Theory. The code behind the curtain. Let's begin with a question modern science is now brave enough to ask. What if the universe is not made of matter, but of information? The simulation theory proposes that everything around us, space, time, emotion, memory, is the result of advanced code. Like a digital illusion, rendered perfectly, running on a system beyond our comprehension. This is not just science fiction. Oxford philosopher Nick Bostrom laid out the logic. If any civilization becomes advanced enough to simulate entire realities, then statistically, we're more likely to be in one than not. Elon Musk goes further, claiming the odds we're in base reality are 1 in billions. Why? Because the signs are everywhere. In quantum physics, particles don't exist until they're observed, like a video game that only renders the world when you turn your head. Time and space aren't fixed. They're elastic, relative, and sometimes glitchy. And then there's quantum computing, machines that process information not just in binary ones and zeros, but in superpositions, eerily similar to how reality seems to behave. It's no longer far-fetched to say the universe runs like a cosmic program. We don't live in a structure made of atoms and stone. We live in a system built on bits and logic, digital rules underlying what we call real. You're not walking through a physical world, you're navigating a projected simulation where the grass, the air, the touch of another person are all outputs of code responding to your perception. You're not the player, you're the avatar, rendered, directed, confined. You're not the player, you're the avatar, rendered, directed, confined. And yet, there's a deeper layer to this mystery, a truth more disturbing than any futuristic theory. Because while modern science is just now catching up, ancient civilizations had already described this illusion. Long before we had computers, digital language, or physics labs, mystics and prophets were telling us that the world is not what it seems, that we are being deceived, that a veil has been pulled over our eyes, and someone or something is keeping us asleep. Maybe the simulation isn't the mystery, maybe the real mystery is the architect behind it. And before computers or code, ancient mystics were already mapping the illusion, and ancient wisdom has already answered that question. Part 2. Eastern Mysticism. Maya, the Grand Illusion. Long before the first line of code was written, before quantum physics, AI, or virtual reality became part of our language, the mystics of the East had already uncovered something extraordinary. This world is not what it seems. In the ancient teachings of Hinduism, the concept of Maya reveals that the reality we experience, this body, this sky, this life, is nothing more than a cosmic illusion. According to the Vedas, everything we perceive is a dream of Vishnu, the divine presence that sustains the universe. And just like a dream, it can feel vivid, detailed, even painfully real. But it remains, ultimately, an illusion. The illusion is so convincing, we forget we're dreaming at all. Buddhism takes this understanding even further. It teaches that all things are impermanent, in constant flux, and devoid of any fixed identity. There is no permanent self behind your thoughts, just a stream of sensations, memories, and emotions passing through. Your life is not fixed in stone. It's written in sand, constantly shifting. And the path of awakening? It's not about becoming more powerful within the illusion. It's about seeing through it. Enlightenment, in this tradition, means stepping outside the illusion entirely. It's a radical inner transformation where the mind pierces the veil of Maya and glimpses the true nature of existence. Not matter, not form, but pure awareness. Because in these ancient systems, you're not just a character playing out your destiny. You were never the character. You were the code breaker who forgot you were the key all along. The awakened one sees the code, while others chase shadows. Think of reality as a hyper-real video game. Most players are stuck on level 1, assuming that's all there is. They obey the rules, chase rewards, and fear death because they believe the simulation is real. But the mystics, they broke the pattern. Through silence, discipline, and deep inward exploration, they reached the hidden levels of the system. They didn't need machines, they didn't need data. They used stillness as their instrument and consciousness as their compass. And what they discovered was astonishing. That behind all form lies emptiness. That beyond the game lies the player. And that what we call reality is more like a dream, a layer, a mask, designed to keep us inside the game. Here's the twist. Modern simulation theory is beginning to echo the very same conclusions. Scientists now suggest that reality behaves more like a rendered environment, responding to our observation, bending to perception, as if it's being computed in real time. So maybe science isn't leading us forward. Maybe it's bringing us full circle. But if the East teaches us that reality is an illusion, the West holds an even darker secret. Because in ancient Gnostic texts, the illusion isn't just accidental, it's intentional, a trap, a prison. So the question deepens. If this is all a simulation, who designed the cage? Part 3. The Gnostic Revelation. The architect is not God. If the mystics of the East called this world an illusion, then the mystics of the West went even further. They called it a prison. In the secretive and long-suppressed writings of the Gnostics, an early esoteric sect of Christianity, reality was not created by a benevolent God, but by a false one, a lower being, a pretender. They named him the Demiurge, a powerful but deeply flawed entity who crafted the material universe as a trap for the soul. He is not the source of divine truth, but a corrupted architect, a being who believes he is God, yet exists far from the true light. In this worldview, the material world, everything we see and touch, is not sacred. It is a distortion, a synthetic prison created to contain fragments of divine consciousness. Your soul, in this narrative, is not born here. It was trapped here. Imagine the Demiurge not as a god in the heavens, but as a kind of cosmic programmer. An ancient, malicious intelligence who wrote the code for a false reality. Not to awaken you, but to trap you. To trap your soul in endless dreams. where escape becomes forgetfulness, a cruel architect, a divine jailer. The Gnostics believed the human experience is not about learning within the world, but remembering what lies beyond it, because this realm of flesh, time, and suffering is a lie, a closed system, a simulation run by a flawed force that wants you to believe it's real. And if this sounds familiar, it's because the truth always echoes. Because this is the same story told in different clothes in our modern mythologies. Think of the Matrix, where intelligent machines create a simulated world to trap human minds, or Tron, where characters are trapped inside a digital grid, unaware of the player beyond. In all these stories, only those who awaken see the code. Only those who break free of the system realize they were enslaved. Everyone else? They defend the simulation. They fight to preserve the illusion. The Gnostics called those who woke up pneumatics, souls of spirit, beings of light who began to pierce through the veil. And their path was never easy, because to escape the prison, you must first see the prison. And to do that, you have to question everything you've ever been taught to worship. Every rule, every god, every version of truth that was handed to you by the system itself. So now, the question isn't just theoretical, it's existential. Are we living in a world built for our growth or our imprisonment? Is this a simulation meant to test us or to trap us? If the material world is the prison, then what lies outside of it? And more urgently, how do we escape? Part 4. Evidence of the simulation, glitches, paradoxes, and consciousness. If this world truly is a simulation, then sometimes the program will fail to hide it. And when it does, we notice, but only for a second, a moment of unease, a flicker, a glitch. Think of those experiences you can't quite explain, the sudden déjà vu that hits you like lightning. You've been here before, lived this moment, but how? The Mandela Effect, where masses remember events that seemingly never happened, or the days when time feels broken, too fast, too slow, out of sync. Are these mere psychological quirks, or are they cracks in the code, glitches in the matrix? Modern science, surprisingly, doesn't dismiss the weirdness. In fact, some of its most groundbreaking discoveries only deepen the mystery. Take the double-slit experiment, a foundational study in quantum physics. When particles are not observed, they behave like waves, pure potential. But the moment someone observes them, they collapse into a fixed position. The moment you look, the universe obeys. Reality doesn't exist until you ask it to show up. In other words, consciousness affects reality. It's as if the universe is running on a kind of quantum game engine, only rendering solid detail when the player is looking. Reality becomes interactive, responsive, personalized. And if that's true, then you aren't just in the simulation. You're participating in its code. But the evidence goes beyond the lab. People who've had near-death experiences often return with chillingly similar reports. A sudden detachment from the body, a sensation of floating, moving through tunnels of light, and encountering higher forms of intelligence that feel more real than anything in this world. Some describe it as waking up from a dream. Others say they downloaded knowledge instantly, like being plugged into a vast network. A few even talk about life reviews, as if their journey was recorded and now replayed. These aren't hallucinations. They're too structured, too consistent. They feel like accessing a deeper layer of the system. And then there are phenomena like telepathy, synchronicity, and remote viewing. all suggesting that information doesn't need to travel through space or time to be known, like secret functions hidden in the simulation's code, shortcuts only accessible to those who know how to look. One thing becomes clear: reality behaves less like a machine and more like a mirror, reflecting your beliefs, your thoughts, your level of awareness. What you expect often becomes what you experience. So maybe the simulation isn't fixed. Maybe it adapts. Maybe the simulation isn't watching you. Maybe it's waiting for you to wake up. And that raises a far more important question. If your consciousness can shape this reality, if your mind bends the rules of the game, then who or what is the master player? Part 5. Beyond the Simulation, Awakening the True Self. So far, we've looked at this world as a simulation, a prison of illusion, glitches, and hidden codes. But now we turn to the most important question of all. Who are you, really, beyond the simulation? Across ancient traditions, from the Gnostic scriptures of the West to the Vedantic wisdom of the East, there is one message whispered again and again. There is something inside you that cannot be simulated. It has no code, no limits, no beginning, no end. It is not made of atoms or data, but of pure awareness. Call it the true self, the higher self, the eternal witness. This self is not the character you play in the simulation. Not your name, your body, your thoughts, or even your memories. It's the player behind the player, the one who watches without being touched. It was never born, and it cannot die. It is unprogrammed, unbound, unwritten. Every spiritual path, whether Gnostic, Buddhist, Sufi, or Vedantic, has pointed toward this same hidden truth. You are not in the simulation. You are observing the simulation from beyond, but you forgot. You got pulled into the game. You believed the illusion. You took the role so seriously, you forgot you were acting. And so, you suffer. Not because the world is cruel, but because you believe it is real. The goal, then, is not to win the simulation, not to master the rules, not to gain control. The real goal is to wake up, to realize you were never just a piece of the code. You were the awareness that allowed the code to exist at all. The mystics never wanted control, because even control is part of the illusion. They sought freedom by walking away from the game. They didn't conquer the game. They walked away from it. They didn't seek to manipulate the illusion. They sought to transcend it. They unplugged. Because once you see the game, once you see the matrix for what it is, you no longer fear it. You no longer serve it. You simply stop playing and step out. And that brings us to the final moment, the image that now lives in your mind, a soul standing before the doorway of truth. Behind them, the world of form, rules, roles, repetition. In front of them, the unknown, freedom. And now the question isn't, are we in a simulation? You already know the answer. The question is, will you stay in the game, or will you wake up? Final CTA. What if everything you know is part of an illusion? Your memories, your beliefs, even the very idea of who you are. If this world is a simulation, then the truth doesn't lie within it. It lies beyond it. And the ancient teachings? They were never just myths. They were breadcrumbs, left behind by those who woke up before us. So if you've felt the glitches, if you've started to question the script, then you're not alone. This is only the beginning. Subscribe, follow the journey, and let's uncover the hidden truths that lead not just beyond the simulation, but back to your true self. Because what's waiting for you isn't just truth. It's the freedom to remember who you truly are, and the beginning of you.